He said he was afraid of the night. Afraid of the night? What? What night? What is he? Hold on a second. Come. And I need to make sure that this is available on pretty much all platforms. Everybody knows that I'm live streaming. Okay. I'll just open up Twitter. It says the city of Shinto, Kuro Kizaka District, Block 4, Semina Apartment, 11th floor, Room 2. Okay. That's where he lived. His name was blank, 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 because they're not even going to tell us what his name is, because of course they wouldn't. Let's just call him Mr. A. Mr. A was a student and having just turned 20, had moved in at the beginning of spring. It was the first time he'd ever moved. The first time he'd ever lived by himself. So random story at the beginning. Let's just put that in the comment section. Random as hell story. Because seriously, it's like, oh, we're just going on about this dude we have no inkling of, because of course we are. Okay, wait a minute. Said was a student and having just turned 20, had moved in at the beginning of spring. This was the first time he'd ever moved, the first time he'd ever lived by himself, and the first time he was in a unfamiliar neighborhood. While Mr. A, an introvert by nature, still felt lost, he was adjusting to life in Fuyuki. But while he's lost, okay. Gradually, Mr. A was comfortable being alone in the first place and never seemed to care much about having few friends or living among strangers. Rather, he preferred things that way. Mr. A, who would shut himself in his room, apparently liked not having his new life disturbed by anyone, be it friend or family. I feel him on that, and some personal level. Oh shit, wait a minute. Whoops, did I do that? His name was Mr. A. Was comfortable, like be it friends or family. A was satisfied with his life except for two things: a long hallway leading to the entrance and the hopeless thoughtlessness of family that moved in next door 1 month prior. What was unsettling him began since he moved into the apartment in spring. What his parents had set up for him was an XXX yen monthly 4-bedroom apartment. What kind of... The size was nothing to complain about. Obviously, it's a freaking 4-bedroom. Jesus Christ, that must be a lot of money. You can't sit here and tell me that's not a lot of money that they're spending. While Mr. A loved being alone, he had an inclination towards luxury and didn't favor living plainly. So he was a spoiled ass brat. Is basically what you're trying to tell me here, what you're trying to sell me here. Like, okay. Like, nothing new, nothing out of the ordinary. We have spoiled brats all the time. When it came to dwelling, the bigger the better. So yeah, spoiled as fuck. To someone like him, who hated the outside world, this place was a fortress. Yeah, I understand that kinda, but like, dude, come on now. Wait a minute. Here, I needed this. It had to be large and solid. It couldn't be easy to reach. You couldn't relax if it wasn't impenetrable. Jesus. Talk about antisocial. It wasn't that Mr. A liked being alone. It was the issue of others being near. He was unconsciously afraid of someone other than himself intruding into his space. There was another reason why Mr. A chose Semina Apartments. It was the distance from the living room to the door. Are you sure you want that? Because that could be... Like, I don't even know how to take that. The long hallway was the first and last obstacle to pass, though, in order to enter or leave the apartment. The 4-meter long hallway stretched in a straight line from the living room to the door. There were neither storage rooms nor a bathroom along the way. It was an unusual hallway for an apartment to have, but it seemed Mr. A took a liking to it for its length. It took up the ideal amount of space and was an ideal entranceway. The far separation from the entrance was not so much a medium between inside and outside, it was more of an ambiguous boundary. It was unnatural. One could say that the hallway itself was the real entrance. However, once he began living there, something about the hallway started to worry him. With such splendid length, what could possibly worry him about it? After being puzzled for several months, he finally figured it out. It was simple. The long hallway had no lights. It looked like a structural flaw had left no space to install any lights. The hallway of the other apartments had them, but only in room 2 of floor 11, where they forgotten. What, you could put like one of those like top roof lights on top or something like that. I don't know. How stupid. Not the worker that forgot to install lights, but himself, who had noticed only now after living there for several months. How the... You know what? Nah. Not gonna do it. No matter how much I want to cuss this motherfucker out for that. Come to think of it, he had already made a wrong turn the moment he had failed to realize what was amiss. Fall came, and new tenants moved in next door. They were the kind of happy family you could find anywhere, apparently. See? A young married couple and a 3-year-old daughter. The only contact he had with them was limited to a simple greeting when they were moving in. Antisocial. All Mr. A knew about them was their surname and the daughter's name. Right. Semina Apartments is an L-shaped building with only 2 apartments on each floor. At the center is the entrance into the building, and each apartment occupies the entire horizontal or vertical part of the L. At the entrance, there is a door leading to the elevator and the emergency stairwell. Sometimes Mr. A would meet the XX couple at the entranceway, but on rare occasions he saw XS alone by herself. The
お
child.
兄ちゃん、ボタン押してくれる？
Holy fucking shit. Whenever they met, she would say that the elevator buttons were slightly above her height. Wait a minute. I'm curious. How high is that? Fuck, never mind. Okay. It was not too high for her to reach, but for some reason, she never raised her hands above her shoulders. Ooh, that could be an injury. Well, he thought it was strange that a 3-year-old girl would go out by herself. He did what the girl asked. Like, yeah, that's strange, but here, I'm gonna let your little ass out. And he would see her not just on the 11th floor, but also at the entrance on the 1st floor. I mean, yeah. Wait, what the fuck? Hold on. On the 1st floor, he would find the girl crouching in front of the elevator as he was coming home or leaving. She would raise her head and say, "Look up at him." Looking up at him. After having that exchange over and over again, Mr. A learned the girl's name. He did not remember it, however, perhaps because Mr. A had no interest in other people. Instead, he called her Little Red Riding Hood because she always wore a red hood. Have a bad feeling about some shit. Ugh. Uh-huh. I'll say it again, Mr. A was an introverted young man. As long as his lifestyle wasn't threatened, he didn't care about the outside world. Yeah, you don't need to... We know. It's fucking obvious, Jesus Christ. Be it, for example, an argument heard from the other side of the wall, the sound of a little girl crying once every day, a woman's scream that could only be described as shrieking, the girl not being able to raise her arm above her shoulders due to a neglected bone fracture, or her wearing a red hood to hide the bruises on her face because her father told her to. Well, the stuff that only concerns other people. Oh, shit. The ruckus of the neighboring room was only about a meter away from the door, but who could blame him? It was, after all, a long haul. Okay, nigga. Create a post. There we go. The source of the screaming was several meters away, and he inevitably had to ignore it while watching TV. But On that night, it was especially out. Wow, okay. A blood-curdling scream. Then siren-like crying. Oh, not the actual sirens. Then the sound of a door being opened, violently reverberating in the entranceway. Then the sound of something banging on Mr. A's door. That night had been aggravating to Mr. A, who had been quietly enjoying a late night broadcast at 2 a.m. He was about to get up and ask them to behave like reasonable human beings. And so, get up he did, but soon sat back down. It'll probably end soon anyway. Their affairs were none of Mr. A's business. Butting in at this point would get him overly involved, so he avoided thinking about it. Yep, there are those type of people. Whatever it is, it's their own responsibility. People ought to handle their own problems by themselves, and so Mr. A took the remote and raised the volume by 5 bars. Okay, nigga. By the end of the night, as he was turning off the TV and falling asleep, the usual nighttime silence had finally returned. The next day, Mr. A learned that there had been a family suicide next door. Here we go. Wow. Jump right into that shit, huh? It was the first time he had ever been questioned by the police. The night before, after having an argument, Mrs. Blank 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 murdered Mr. A with a blade. After slashing her only daughter, she took her own life. When asked about it, I slept like a log and didn't hear anything, was Mr. A's answer. More like he ignored that shit. The officer thanked Mr. A for his cooperation and was about to leave. As he was walking away, Mr. A asked just one question.
一人娘はどうなったのでしょう
He talks. Yay. Lowering his eyebrows, the officer
凶
replied.
器には血液反応が残っていますから刺されたことに間違いはありません。血痕からして致命傷であったと考えられます。
Psychotic people. Except, the young officer muttered uncomfortably.
遺体がないんですよ。どこにも。
No blood trail either? Jesus.
部屋にも逃げ出した後のエントランスにも。
Haunting. What happened was simple. After being stabbed by her mother, the little Red Riding Hood seemed to have managed to escape into the entranceway. At that point, however, the trail stops. The bloodstain stopped in front of the elevator. Because why wouldn't it? Psychotic as fuck. Bloodstain stopped in.
なぜエレベーターを使わなかったんでしょうね。いえ、そもそもどうして隣室のあなたに助けを求めなかったのか。いくら錯乱していたからってチャイムを押すぐらいはできたでしょうに。
Oof. Well, you already know how that ended. Mr. A couldn't bring himself to say that neither button was far out of the girl's reach. The officer left and Mr. A remained standing in the doorway, deep in thought. 2 o'clock at night, he pictured the little girl escape from her crazed mother, but unable to leave the entranceway, desperately banging on Mr. A's doors on the verge of collapse with a tear-stained face. And in the end, the girl's body was never found. Several days passed. Late at night, always at the same time, Mr. A started noticing a strange noise. The noise itself wasn't loud. If he didn't pay attention to it, it was almost inaudible. At first, Mr. A didn't think about what it could be. He told himself that it was just wind shaking the window. But the noise came back every night. Bang, bang. It was a noise that was faint enough to be non-existent, yet it was getting on his nerves. When he realized that the noise wasn't from the window, but rather echoing in the hallway, Mr. A walked down the long hallway and brought himself to the door. He asked who it was through the intercom, no response. The moment Mr. A came up to the door, the noise, which had been so soft moments ago, fucking okay. Holy shit. He looked outside through the peephole. A round distorted view, nobody was there, just a clean-looking entranceway. Nothing except red specks on the cream-colored floor that Mr. A tried to look deeper into the peephole. Maybe there was someone there, maybe he couldn't see at this angle. The noise continued. Wait, there was something under the peephole, just outside of his view. Something red, wearing a hood, was clinging on to the door. He ran back down the long hallway. The clock was showing 2 a.m. Those late night visits became a routine event. The noise continued every night. Mr. A never opened the door. Then one night it happened again. It was insufficiently quiet. He could have just brushed it off as being a part of his imagination. But now it had been an unavoidable anguish that had stained his brain, cutting away at his nerves like a blade. With each day, Mr. A's mind being cornered. Yeah, this is some shit. It was the end of autumn. He could now hear it no matter what time it was. That night, he came to a decision. He would see for himself what was clinging to the door. He walked down the long hallway. It's a trap, you dumbass. It's about to go down. The light from the entranceway leaked in from behind the door, passing through the unlit corridor. He pushed the door open. There was nothing there. There was no one there. There was no one there. That painful knocking that had been echoing in his skull was gone as well. Of course, there was nothing. Something that ridiculous couldn't be true. There had never been any noise. There had never been a red hood. Yeah, keep telling yourself that, buddy. Ha 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 ha. Laughter and relief mixed together. His chilled body rapidly regained its warmth. He had just been hearing things. Somehow it seemed that incident had gotten to him. Without realizing it, he had felt guilty and developed paranoia. But that was all over, or so you thought. It all ended the moment he opened the door. Phew. Wiping sweat off his forehead, he closed the door. Once he had locked the door, he raised his head before his very eyes. Down the long, long, dark hallway he had been so fond of. His eyes widened. In the middle of the corridor, there was something wearing a red hood. A familiar dead body. It seemed to be pleading at him. Somehow Mr. A knew that it would be the last thing he could hear before his death. From within the darkness, its lips moved, like a watermelon that had been bored into with a knife. with a blood-stained voice. The Little Red Riding Hood spoke to him.
お兄ちゃん、ボタン。
Did you just punch me?
なんだよそれつまんねえよっていうかなんでそんなに演出家なんだ実際三つりデテール凝りすぎ芝居うますぎあと話長すぎ
Was it that serious?
そもそもなんだよその演詞そんなにヤバい状態になったら引っ越せもう引っ越せよ
Dumbass overreactions. Of course. Good lord. October 11th, past midnight, in a guest room at the Ryudo Temple. Makidera Kaide's shrieking voice resounded through the fall sky.
引っ越せってそれができたら苦労しないでしょ。あんただってあんな家出てってやるなんて言ってもう何年よ。人間ね、多少の不安より愛着が取るもんなの。
Right.
みんながみんな幽霊一匹で住処を移してたら今頃この島はもぬけの殻になってるわ。
眼蓄のある言葉だ。なるほど。我々と階段は切っても切れぬ関係にある。
Sure, let's go with that.
時に牧寺、長廊下のお釈子様は健在か？
いいねっつーの我が家にそんな偉そうなやつはいないねあと夜中になったら雨降ってないのに廊下が水に濡れたりもしないね祖先が瀬戸内で海賊なんてやってもいないね
そっか。牧寺んとこも古い家だったっけ？何？廊下の話は鬼門だった？
Oh my lord.
うるさい廊下なんて怖くねえ最新のおしゃれなマンションに引っ越してで、その鬼門ってなんだ新しいチャクラか
チャクラを知っていてなぜ鬼門を知らん？
Because she's an idiot.
鬼門というのは良くない方角。強調を表す言葉だ。細かく言うのなら北東の方角。
Like I said, she's an idiot. Ryudo Issei, the son of the Ryudo Temple's head monk and the president of the school council. Issei, who came with us as a supervisor in the official role, briefly glanced at me.
お
glanced at me.
おさすが寺の息子ちゃんとしてんじゃんそういうとこけど今はお断り私が聞きたいのはもっとコスモな話なわけ幽霊とかそういう話はお門違いだね
Oh!
ほらもっとさ遠坂ん家には江戸時代に隕石が落ちてたとか冬木の地下には大空洞があるとかそういう現実的な話をしろよな
Why does it have to be Ren's house?
いや、今のは十分に現実的な話だったと思うが。
Sort of, yeah.
先ほどの実話だが、廊下で少女と出会ったということは真犯人は A 氏で廊下の壁に死体を隠蔽していたという話だろう。
Deduction skills for my baby.
カネちゃん、それも階段とは趣旨が違うと思う。
Yes, it does. It really does. But I also love that analytical skill.
現実的な話をしろって言われてもね。怪談話を何だと思ってるのよ牧寺は。ま、とんでも話なら遠坂の管轄だから待ってればいいの聞けるんじゃない？
それはありません。牧寺さん好みのとんでも話は知りませんから。
Really now? Tosaka counters elegantly. That's her usual manners at this sort of gathering.
そりゃ失礼。じゃあマトは？一年の誰かがマト首相はああ見えてすごく怖いとか言ってたけど。
Huh?
私ですか？別に怖い話が好きなんじゃなくて階段に強いだけなんですけど。
I wonder why.
ところで三つ釣り先輩、そんなこと言ったのは誰でしょうか？
You know, I don't like that smile. That's an evil smile.
そういうところが怖いんだって気づきなさい、さくら。
Yeah, that was terrifying. What the Okay, Sakura. She let out quietly. No one here knows that Tosaka Ren and Mato Sakura are sisters yet. Because you didn't bother to tell anybody.
和むのはいいが、まだ始まったばかりだろ。続けるのか続けないのか。俺としてはこれ以上牧寺が騒ぐのなら会を中止させなくてはならないのだが。
Oh shit.
そうよね。眠ってるお坊さんたちにいい迷惑だし、牧寺がもう叫ばないっていうなら続けましょう。
Asking too much from the dumbass.
騒いでないじゃん。三つ釣りの話がつまんないからダメ出ししただけじゃんかよ。
Bullshit. You were terrified. And so you jumped in and made a whole lot of noise.
問題はそのダメ出しが次にもあるかということでしょうね。牧寺さんに我慢しろというのは呼吸をするなということと同義だから割と絶望的だけど。
Ha!
どう牧寺さん、呼吸止められる？
Hey, calm down.
止められる。私陸上の次に水泳得意だし。
だそうですのでこのまま続けましょう。次は三枝さんかな。
Saigusa.
はい。けど私階段ってしたことなくて、
Yeah, you don't look the type.
大丈夫。無理に怖がらせようと思わなくていいから。
You'll scare the moron.
綾子のは実際あった話を脚色したたちの悪い話でね。牧寺さんが怖がったのはセミナマンションの事件を知っていたからだろうし。そうなんですか？
Really?
セミナマンションの一家心中は実際にあった話だ。その1ヶ月後、隣室の青年も行方不明になり、捜索願いが出ているのも事実だぞ。
やめろよ。英子の兄ちゃんはなんか理由あって自分探しに旅立ったんだよ。素敵なサムシングなんだよ。いつか一回りでっかくなって帰ってくるんだよ。
So says the terrified woman.
そんなかっこいい兄ちゃんにおかしな失踪理由でっちゃげるとは。なんて少年の腐った女だ。三つ釣り綾子。
Can we just tape her mouth shut?
本当にいなくなっちゃったんですか？英子さんって。
Uh-huh.
ああ、同じマンションの住人が言うのだから間違いない。そうだろう、三つ釣り嬢。
そういう話だからね。とまあ、私ほど脚色せずとも実際にあった噂話だけで十分ってこと。牧寺は怖がりだからね。三枝さんもその線で攻めてみるといいよ。誰かに聞いたお化けの話とかない？
それなら何個かあります。皆さん窓辺の幽霊って知ってますか？2学期から広まりだした噂なんですけど。
Wait, what?
何それ？私は初耳。
Uh-huh.
お化け洋館の人影ですよね。弓道部の1年生たちが話してたような。
Oh, that's Ren's house.
はい、そのお化け洋館です。なんでも冬季のどこかに使われていない洋館があって、夜中に近づくと2階の窓辺からこうじーっと見つめてくる人影があるそうです。
Hey, Ren, do you want to tell them? Because that sounds like you were playing around. Or somebody caught you doing some weird, outlandish shit. Ah, my fucking eye.
ああ、人影ってどんな人影よ、ゆきっち。つうかさ、冬木のどこかにある洋館って何？
それは私も知らないんだけど、あんまり人が寄りつかないお屋敷じゃないかな。
Ren, that's your house.
実際見た人がいるらしいんだけど、たまたま道に迷った時に洋館を見つけたんだって。なんでも周りは木ばっかりで人気がなくて、洋館の2階にいたお化けは女の人だったとか。
It's amazing.
何それ？
These stupid
人気の
stories.
ない洋館で女が一人？そんなの遠坂んちじゃん。遠坂、あんたんちお化け屋敷にされてるぞ。
Because it practically is a haunted mansion. She's the only one in there, and she's not even in there most of the time.
そうなのかな。ごめんなさい遠坂さん、この話って遠坂さんちのことだったの？
Ahaha.
謝らないで三枝さん。うちがご近所からそういった扱いを受けているのは今に始まったことじゃないし、牧寺さんのような言われなき中傷にも慣れていますから。
Baseless slander wouldn't be entirely accurate. The Tokusaka residence is actually a type of haunted house.
じゃあこの話はやめて神道の話にします。最近夜になると神道の空に何か大きな糸みたいのが見えるって話なんですけど。
The frick? Unsure of herself, Segusa Yukika looked at the crowd. I'd say that she is looking for witnesses.
その糸みたいなのが何なのか見たことある人います？
Can't say they have.
話だけは聞いてるが、あいにくとまだ怪異には出会っていない。
Otherworldly.
空って夜空？そのセンタービルの屋上に人影が立っていたなんて話じゃないわよね。
Ren, you just exposed yourself.
具体的な例えだね。そりゃセンタービルの屋上に赤い人影を見たって話はよく聞くけど、三枝さんの話は別物じゃなくて？
She just exposed herself. Look at her face. Exposed. Wait, flagless, what the fuck? I didn't even know that was a thing. That's because I played the bullshit version. There's something mysterious about the way Mitsuzuri Ayako looked at Tosaka because she realized that just fucking... As if she knows the truth behind that. Tosaka, who prefers wearing red, makes a sour face. It's been half a year since the 5th Holy Grail War ended. That means that she's probably still patrolling the area at night.
牧寺先輩は見たことありますか？
ない。だがおそらくは UFO。
Dumbass.
あたしゃ読めたよ。
Knew it.
牧寺、あんたは階段を勘違いしてる。
Obviously she doesn't. Because every time you tell one, she freaks the fuck out.
そうだな。我々がしているのはオカルティックな話であって、コズミックな話ではない。
Can't tell her that because she's an idiot.
牧野氏、気の毒だが、いくら待っても君好みなムームー話に出番はないぞ。
Moo Moo stories.
読んでない。あんな面白おかしい電波本なんて購読してないよ私。だってあれすっげえつまんねえじゃん。
Are you sure? Because it feels like you do.
まあそのつまらないところがある意味たまらないのではあるが。
Irresistible.
ところで神都上空の蜃気楼の件だが。
Everyone shakes their heads. Unfortunately, there was no witnesses. There are no witnesses. However, I've been getting this feeling from a little bit ago. How should I put it?
そういう噂話なら俺からも一つ。昔から郊外の森には城が建っているという話があるだろう。それに新説が加わったそうだ。
That castle is someone who I know. It's Shiro's little sister.
何度も城を目指して森に入ると旧帝国軍の亡霊が現れて入ってきたものを戦場に送り出すらしい。
Okay, Ilya, what the hell are you doing?
で、いくつかの関門を乗り越えた勇者だけが幻の城で一泊できてメイド姉妹に解放されるとかなんとか。
Sella and Lizette. Huh?
竜道くん何念願の相部屋で脳みそとろけちゃった？
Ren, you know that story. Don't even play.
俺とておかしな話だと思っておるわ。だが実際に見た者がいるのだから仕方なかろう。
I don't think
嘘
that's
だ
a
と
good
思
idea.
うのなら一人で郊外に特攻するがいい。
I really don't think that's a good idea. It says, crap. This is funny.
エミヤは今の竜道のヨタ話どう思う？
Misazuri shifts the conversation to me. Up until now, I've been just an observer. Oh well, I had been keeping my mouth shut because I don't know how to comment on
ど
this.
うも
But
何も一星が作り話なんてするわけないだろ。竜道寺は森に近いし案外本当にあるかもな。
it's not that I have no idea what it might be. I have no idea what it might be. Putting that aside for a moment, I feel bad about breaking the conversation, but I've got to go to the bathroom.
あれちょっとトイレ。誰にも気づかれないようにスルッと戻ってくるんで俺に構わず続けててくれ。いいところで牧寺を脅かすから。
いいじゃん、やれるもんならやってみな。私も女だ。エミヤにゃ負けられないね。
I don't know what the hell you being a girl has to do with any of this. There goes Makidera as usual, reacting in a weird way because she's weird. Ever since I started having lunch with Tosaka, Makidera has been acting like this all the time. The fuck? Okay. It's chilly outside. The night air in the mountains is cold and crisp, unlike the city. Exposed to the cool air, my unclear head and ambiguous thoughts become more defined, waking me up. Looking up at the night sky, I let out a heavy sigh. I've already walked some 20 meters away from the room, huh? It's not every day that I find myself trying to think about something for no reason in a temple's passage.
さて
What should I try contemplating first? Maybe I should try organizing my thoughts on how things ended up being like this. Speaking of things happening to me recently, there's the story of today's training camp. It involves the upcoming cultural festival. Sakura, who is working hard as the captain of the archery club, Misazuri, who was looking out for her, and the strange relationship with the track and field club. At the end of the complicated argument, little by little, a training camp was being set up for the cultural festival. Issei offered the location and I was invited as hard labor. Basically, I am in charge of the food. Life's as hectic as ever, but at least things are peaceful. 6 months ago, there was a battle for the Holy Grail with all the consequences. In that battle, something was lost and something was gained. It's been enough time to look back and reflect on those events. I've settled down. The Holy Grail War is a thing of the past. There is no reason for another conflict to spark in Fuyuki. The Holy Grail is gone, the servants have vanished, the dead won't return, and life continues without problems. There is no need for these days to change. The factors linking them together are almost all there. Linking a similar tomorrow with yesterday and enjoying the slight changes in the proper way of life for a person. My thoughts stop. I'm certain there was another reason for the training camp.
なんだ
A girl. I'm pretty sure there was something standing towards the corner of my vision just now. In the direction of the temple grounds, it's too far off to get a good look, but there is a human figure running towards the back hill. It's probably a monk or something from the temple. And that eye had to be stopped because guess what? That is a story for later. Way later, to be precise. And my dog is in the background drinking her water like it's gone out of style. Excuse me? What the hell? Yeah, lay your butt down. We aren't the only ones at in the Ryoto temple. I really shouldn't be worried about by random
あ、
people.
そうそう。そんなことよりトイレ。
Increasing my pace, I jogged down the hallway. Whoops. I've just bumped into someone coming from around the corner.
すみま。
こちらこそごめんなさい。少しぼーっとしていたから。
Oh, Lord. Hello. What are you doing right now, young lady? My mind freezes. I am too surprised to even know what I'm surprised about.
けど、あなたも気をつけなさい。
Yeah, you don't want a witch to get you at night, a pretty witch.
廊下を走るのは感心しなくてよ、坊や。
I'm sure it is. Castor walks past me. She's as refined and sarcastic as always, but seeing her face unhooded is quite rare. However, what was I so surprised about?
そうだ。キャスターってとんでもなく美人だったんだな。
Ah, there we go. This monologue restarts my frozen mind and I keep on going. I cleared my head. Having finished my business, I am back in the guest room.
そうして八八はよみがえった。村人たちにいびり殺された息子。じゃがよみがえった八八には至る所が欠けておった。手も足も臓物も脳みそもなかった。
Poor Zakuza over there trembling.
母親は足りない箇所を補うため毎晩捕まえて閉じ込めた村人たちから。
His eyes are gleaming. I expected no less from the son of a monk. When it comes to graveyards, corpses, and karmas, he has no rival. It goes without saying how Makidera would react, but the ghost story expert Himuro Mitsuzuri and even Tozaka are silently getting ready for the conclusion. It is the same with everyone. Hold on, there was something weird just now. Kuzuki Sensei is also quietly listening to Issei's story. Our brave leader, Fujine.
虎はなぜ強いと思う？生まれつき怖い話なんて怖くないからだ。シローたちは生まれつき怖い話に弱いからそんな特訓をしなければならないのだ。
What the actual... Okay. She had said on the verge of tears. Now she's already asleep. I think this is what they call abdiction of leadership. Abdication. But since she couldn't let a meeting of a crowd of young people in the dark go unmonitored, she asked Kuzuki Sensei to take the reins of authority. It's not like they're gonna do something untoward. Oh my god.
そうして八八は考える死人になった。だが悲しいかな。ようやく八八が母親の名前を呼べるようになった頃、母親はとうにこと切れておったのじゃ。
母親。
邪法は母親の体を蝕んでおったのよ。八八は悲しんだ。よみがえったことはさほど嬉しくはない。ただ苦痛に耐えて自分をよみがえらせた母親が不憫でならなかった。
アゴニー。
そうして八八は自らと同じよう母をよみがえらせようとしたのじゃが、それだけはどうしてもできなかったのじゃ。母が自分に施した茶道を丁寧に繰り返しても、村人たちの肉を二山三山、血を二川三川使おうとも、母は決してよみがえらなかったのじゃ。
なんでだよ。ゾンビは勝手に増えるじゃんよ。かわいそうだから増やしてやれよ。
What the hell is she talking about?
今時母ちゃんが2人になろうが10人になろうが珍しくないよ。
The hell?
あとなんで口調変わってんだよ生徒会長。
いいところで水を差すな牧寺。この語りは竜道家の決まりなのだ。
She's an idiot. I gotta get his throat ready.
さもありなん。
His eyes
母親と
disappear.
八八では立ち位置が違ったのじゃ。教会の問題でな。いかな邪法秘法を用いようと叶わぬことが一つだけある。
So pretty much scared dumbass.
それは聖者のみが死者をよみがえらせられるということよ。死者が死者を食ろうて仲間にしたところで生き返らしたことにならぬ。それはすでに人ではなく死体を食うだけの化粧を生み出したに過ぎぬのだ。
True. That's a good reason. Lesson. That's a good lesson. Not a good reason. Good lesson. It is true that the wishes of the dead cannot be granted. It is always the breath of life that causes things to happen. Even if the deceased were to be granted life once again, without a doubt, the dead cannot ever ever bring back to life. Cannot ever bring back the dead. Okay. It has always been like that. Only the living can bring back the dead, which they shouldn't do.
それを知らぬ八八は永遠に血肉を集め続ける。よみがえらぬ母親のために今でも竜道で人の手足を集め続けているという話じゃ。
My boy got his own mountain though.
これが冬木に伝わるムクロ塚の八八郎、影山の臓物墓場の言われである。
In Trail's graveyard. Issei ends his tale. The candle is blown out. His turn is over.
今のはそれなりに聞いたわね。寺の息子が寺に泊まっている時に墓場の話をするとは思いませんでした。
Of course he would.
その大人げなさに脱帽です。
Wow.
今日はこちらの陣地だからな。仏敵を打ちのめすためなら使えるものは何でも使う。
Annihilate the infidels. Who's next? The staple of camping trips, ghost stories, would go around in a circle.
ほら、次はエミヤの番。
Ah, shit.
生徒会長の後で大変だろうけど、一つ気合の入ったのを頼むわ。
Well, if you want one.
心配には及びません、三辻先輩。先輩、階段には強いですよ。夏場に藤村先生を脅かすのに効果的ですから。
Everyone's eyes focused on me. I've got a couple of ghost stories on me, but this is the first time I've ever told one to this many people. In fact, I don't really like telling stories in the first place. I can't do the weird dramatization, and I can't really tell if they're good or not.
落ち着いてでいいわよ、エミヤくん。
Blushing Tsundere. For your viewing pleasure, ladies and gentlemen.
いつも通りで、ここが土蔵だと思ってればいいんだから。
He's not scared of people. Well, now I feel awkward. Oh well. It's really not like me, but this is a part of the festival. To wrap up this great trip.
それじゃあ、長い話を一つ。
Doing something I usually wouldn't, I start telling my story for the first time.
Where have you been? Been searching all along.